Good morning, everybody. Shefa Brucha V'Atzlucha. We are in parashat Ekev. One of the interesting. What is Ekev? Ekev is the heel of the leg, like the lowest part of the body. Ekev is also because of. So one of the interesting things is that via Ekev Tishmun, the Torah is telling us if we listen to God and do whatever He tells us to do, so we are going to be prosperous. We're going to get all the good things of the world, and a whole list of blessings is being given to us in our parsha. And it's also we have the parashat of Vayayim Shamoah. If we listen to God and do, so we'll get the right. Everything unbelievable things are going to happen if somebody is going to do whatever God tells him to do with the mitzvahs. So the first question is, well, this is the reason we are committed to do the mitzvahs. We do the mitzvahs because we want to get a reward. It's very hard to understand this. We know all that we have to worship God, not because of the reward, but because we love Him. So what is the idea here? So I'm not going to go to all the interesting things that David HaMelech says, Ekev, in the famous פרק תהילים, השמיים מספרים כבוד אל, מסע ודברי רקיע, יום להביע ולילה, לחבלת, אין עומר ואין דברים, ונשמע קולם. It's a famous תהילים rhyme that we say on, it starts the Psukei the Zimmer of Shabbos. And when we look into it, it's very interesting to see. Also, in the middle, 1 minute, let me find it. Oh, no moment, Shachris l'Shabbos. And here it is. 1 minute. Okay. למנצח מזמור לזה, השמיים מספרים כבוד הל. The sky is telling the honor of God and what He does. מעשה אדם מרגיד רקיע, what He does. Look in the sky into the, you see, יום ליום, day to day is going to tell. עומר ולילה ללילה, and night to night is going to have an opinion. I'm not going to go to explain it, but in the middle of all of this, like this glory of the creation that is really showing you that there is a God. You see all the beautiful things. And then in the middle of this mizmor says, Gam avdecha niz'ar ba'em b'shomram ekev rav. Ekev, the same word that we've got here. So it's telling us that Gam avdecha, says David HaMelech, I am also very careful to all the mitzvahs to commit them because of, and the explanation is, Ekev rav tuvcha asher tzafanta lirecha, because of the reward. What's going on here? And here we have to explain something very simple. God is a giver. He wants to give us. And it's like, to understand a little more, for example, you want your children to be successful. So, you, for example, come to your child and you tell him, if you are going to do good in the test, in whatever you want, you choose, and you're going to get 10 or 9 or even 8, I'm going to give you a beautiful present. I'm going to buy you a bicycle, for example. So what normally the parents do, they run to the shop, they buy the bicycle, hide it in the machsan in the warehouse, and they're just waiting for the child to be successful in this test so they can give him the present, because they really want to give him the present. In other words, it's not the present that is important here. It's the will to give the present from the parents. Now, when the child gets the present, why did he do the test? Why was he successful in the test? Because he wanted the bicycle, the present? Or because he wanted his parents to be, let's say, proud of him? Interesting question. Simple way is, what do you love? You love the reward, or you love the one who gave you the reward? Do you love God, or you love what God gave you? And that's the point. God wants to give. And we want to show God that we are so good. We do all the things because we want Him to give the reward, but we don't love the reward. We love God. That's where we have to aim. That's the system. That's what we have to do. The aim is love. This is the whole world was built on. And here it's also something to think about. Ekev is also the lower part. Says one of the nations, mitzvot she'adam dash be'akevav. Says all those small mitzvahs that we daily do and we don't even make notice, don't think about it. We just do it like, okay, we used to do it, or we don't do them. And here is the Torah telling us those small mitzvahs, small things that you do every day, those are the important things. They are more important than the big things. Why? Because Ekev is also ikviut, constance, to be constant with things, to do them constantly, to do them all the time. In other words, what God wants us is not, okay, I'm going tomorrow to sit and learn from morning to night, every day, to show God how I love Him. We all know it's impossible. We'll do it maybe one day, and then the next week we do half a day, and then a few hours, and then 2 hours, and very shortly we do nothing. That's how it works in the normal world, in everything. If we take on ourselves a big thing that is really very hard, so we try and do it once or twice, and then we see we cannot do it, so we leave it. But if we will accept on ourselves, if we want really to do something good, so we will say, for example, from tomorrow I'm going to learn every day 10 minutes Mishnah, Gemara, parashat Shavua, whatever, to show God that I love Him. Now this is the thing that you can do every day. In other words, you put God in your daily life, and that's what God wants. Don't give me big things. I want you to show me that I am a part of your life. This is Ekev. All those small things. Unfortunately, it goes also to the other side. If we do bad things, even if they're small, we have to understand that in time, it will grow, and we will find ourselves in a big problem. The same way as you do good things, one, again, and then it gets to be a big thing that works both ways, in the good way and in the bad way. For example, a few years ago, we've been in Toronto in Canada, and we had one of the leaders of the community, the Jewish community there, showing us the town, and we ended up, we thought it was very nice, beautiful, told us that like they have their conservative and the reforms and the Orthodox, they're all together, they all love each other, beautiful. And then he took us to a shiur, to the synagogue. It was a whole huge building with a lot of halls and things, a museum, and in the middle of it was a shiur with 3,000 places. Unbelievable. But the interesting thing was, this was a conservative community, it was a conservative shiur, and the shiur was built, the synagogue was built like a normal Orthodox shiur. You had the women up there, the section at least built, and men down. That's the way it looked. And then he explained to us, and he said something very interesting. He said, you see, in the beginning, we have in Hebrew it says datlash, datilayit. It's being not like a little light with the religion. So what they did in the beginning, like they didn't want to be in the extreme side, so they did a few, shortcuts and things like this. So in the beginning, it was women sitting up there and men down there. But then in time being, when you open a small hole, it grows up. And they says, why should the women sit up there and the men down? We should all sit in the same floor. So they divided the hall to two, and women one side and men at the other side. And then it says, why should a couple, the man on one side and the wife on the other side? They are a couple, there's no problem, they can sit together. So men and women sat together. And a thing lead to a thing, and that's the way it looks today. In other words, when you do a small thing, a small change, a small discount in what you do, eventually it grows and grows and grows. And that's a big lesson for life. There are certain things that our sages says that we have to keep them. And that's what we have to do, not change them. The minute we start changing, that's the way. Somebody told me later on that how did all this conservative movement start? They had a problem on Shabbos because a lot of the people, the community, were living far away, and it was very hard for them to walk to shul or to walk at all. It took hours. So they didn't come to shul. So on Shabbos the shul was empty. So the rabbi decided one day, you know what? Because of Kiddush Hashem, and that the shul will be full, and there will be a minyan, which is very important, and the Shabbos prayers, it's very important, Shabbos Kodesh, he allowed the people to drive to shul. But only to shul. Drive to shul and back. That's it. And we all know where it led to. So, the family drove to shul in the morning, and on the way back, they stopped at the mall or the amusement park. It's Shabbos. It's holiday. And slowly but surely, they started driving to the supermarket, to everything. And then another thing led to another thing. So the big lesson is, we can choose to do the good in the eyes of God. Even with the small things, because those small things can lead us to an unbelievable thing. On the good side, we have to put God in our schedule, in our daily life. And be aware and be very careful from the small naughty things that we do, because they can lead to a different place. And this brings us to another very interesting pasuk that is very hard to understand. Says Moshe Rabbeinu, "Ve'ata Yisrael, ma Hashem Elokecha shoel mimcha." Now Israel, what is God asking for you? A small thing. Ki'im le'ira, fear God, go in all His ways, love Him, worship Him, and with all your heart and with all your soul. Very small thing. It's nothing. The fear of God. Woo! So one of the explanations is, this Moshe Rabbeinu, for him is a small thing, but for us it's not so small. But really, that's what the Torah is telling us, so we have to understand what's the point. The point is very interesting. Yirat Hashem, the fear of God, what we talk about here, first of all, is not the fear of God, meaning I am afraid of God. Because it's impossible to tell us to love somebody that we are afraid of him. And somebody you're afraid of, we are not going to love him. So definitely that's not the idea. So what is the idea? The idea is the fear from losing the contact with God. Not fear from God himself, but from the contact with God. In other words, when we learn and realize how good God is, Matov Hashem, so good, and we understand it, so automatically we want to love Him and we want a good connection with God. So if we do the things God wants us to do, so the love of God is going to increase and the connection will be better and we go get closer and closer to God. But if we don't do the things that God wants us to do, so we're going to get far and far and far. As we said, with the conservative movement, there are 4 movements. All those who try to change things, to make them easier, but eventually what happened? They disconnected themselves from God. If they would realize who God is and how good He is, they would not do it. And this is something we have to put in our mind, inside. Yir'ah, the fear of God in Hebrew, Yir'ah is Re'iyah, is to see. It's the same letters. And what does it mean? Our problem is that sometimes we don't see things in the right way. We see a distorted picture. It's like this tourist came to Paris, very important guy. So they took him to the Louvre to show him all the famous pictures. They bring him to one of the most famous pictures in the world, and he looks at it and says, kishkush. What's this? That's the scratches and things. What is nothing? They couldn't believe it, so they took him to another one and another one. And every picture he says, this is a kishkush. This is a scratch. This is nothing. That's not a picture. One guy looked at him and says, what's going on here? Suddenly he realizes the guy wears glasses. He took the glasses and he saw the glasses, maybe they fall, I don't know what happened to them, they were scratched and dirty. So if you look through those glasses, what do you see? You don't see a normal picture. You see scratches, you see things that are all distorted. So of course, through those glasses, you don't see the real picture. The same thing is with us, with Yetzer Hara. We wear glasses, but unfortunately sometimes they are scratched by Yetzer Hara, by the bad inclination, by our lust and the things we want. So we don't see the straight picture. We don't see the true picture. We see scratches. So we have to clean the glasses or change the glasses to look at the picture, to look at the world through the Torah, with a clear view. And talking about looking at things in the right way. Sometimes we think we are big shots. It's written in our parashat, V'ram levavcha, and you will feel big, high, and you forget God. I heard this beautiful story from a guy from Karlsruhe in Germany. And he's telling about a couple get married. He is a famous professor. And they go on a camping tour in the nature. Beautiful lakes, scenery, flowers, trees, birds singing. Really unbelievable. Gan Eden. The evening, they put a tent and they go to sleep. In the middle of the night, the woman wakes up her husband, the wife wakes up her husband and asks him, look and tell me, what are the stars telling you? He looks at the stars, he wants to show how clever he is. First of all, those small stars, each one of them is a whole big, huge world. Then, it looks like tomorrow is going to be a very nice, shiny day. And we are on, let's say, on the end of the night, and it's nearly morning. And then he asks his wife, what do you think? I think that you're getting stupider and stupider every day. They took our tent. They were in the tent. And if you see the stars, what does it mean? There is no tent. They took our temple. And what do we see? We see the stars and we are busy with all the joys of life, forgetting that we're missing the biggest thing in life, our temple. This is, again, seeing the wrong thing instead of seeing what's missing, what do we need to fulfill. We just got up from Tisha B'Av. We have to fix it. The temple is not yet here. And as long as it's not here, we miss it. They took our tent, they took our house. And we're outside. So let us all look at the world in the right glasses, in the right way, which will fill us the riyah, seeing the right things with the right glasses, clean Torah glasses, will give us yirat Hashem, will give us the fear of God, not the fear from God, but the fear that God is not with us. We want God to be as close to us as we can, and to understand that God wants to reward us. And we worship God not for the reward, because we love God and we know that He wants to give us, like the parents, that they just want to give the present to the child. They want to give it. They're just waiting for him to be successful. Not for the test, because they want to give. This is God for us. And this is how we should behave. To give. To be giver. As we said, the aim, the task of life here in this world is love. And if we love each other and spread love and see the world in the right eyes and understand that the small things, Ekev, the small things that we do every day, put God in your schedule, even 10 minutes, 5 minutes, but constantly, ikviyut, all the time. This is what God wants. And this is going to get us closer to God and to fulfill what God wants us. To fear Him, like the fear of Romimut, the fear to understand who He is, and to love Him with all our heart and soul. All the best to everybody.